Anyone with a smartphone or a computer these days needs a way to store their files. And depending on who you are, that may be a lot of files. And you don't want to ship all that off to the cloud. You want it on your own local network on your own NAS. And today, we're going to take a look at the new player in the NAS game with the NASync from Ugreen. Note that this video has been sponsored by Ugreen, and a link to their NASync line can be found down in the description below. Now, the reason anybody buys a NAS is because they want a place to store their files. However, backing up your entire anime collection isn't quite the same as Karen down the street who's just offloading all of her iPhone pictures. Fortunately, there are plenty of options to choose from in the NASync lineup, from 2 bays all the way up to 8 and even a full flash storage model. The one I have here is the DXP 4800 Plus, which comes with a 4-core, 5-thread, 12th gen Intel Pentium Gold 8505 processor and 8 GB of RAM. But you can actually upgrade it to 64 GB if you need to. I actually really like this CPU choice as it's still got a low TDP, but you get that hyper-threaded performance core for some improved single-thread workloads. They do have another 4-bay non-plus model, but I think for the price, this one's the way to go. Either way, with 4 drive bays, that will give you a maximum capacity of 96 terabytes, because math. Here is a look at what you get when you order a NASync for yourself. In the box, you'll find the unit itself and a box of accessories. Personally, I think the NASync has a good design to it, and I'm glad they put an emphasis on how this thing looks, since a lot of people may have this out on their desk or on a shelf. The main chassis is a brushed aluminum with black accents and some clean lettering. When checking out the back, I noticed the fan grille didn't have any screws, which meant, yep, it's magnetic. Nice touch. Staying back here, we'll see most of our I/O. We get an HDMI port, a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port, 2 USB 2.0 ports, 2 RJ45 ports, one at 2.5 gig and one at 10, and a reset button, and of course your power input. Then on the front we have a little bit more I/O with the power button, indicator lights, an SD card slot, and USB-C and USB-A 3.2 ports, each rated for 10 gigabits per second speeds. In terms of accessories, you get your standard warranty card and user guide, 2 Cat6 cables, 2 dummy thick thermal pads for your NVMe drives that you can add, spoiler, a tiny screwdriver to match your tiny hands, screws for drive mounting, and the drive bay locking tool. This ensures that the drive bays don't accidentally come out when you bump them or anything else. Actually, a very underrated feature, I must say. Speaking of the drive bays, we have 4 hot swappable bays that include some toolless sleds for your 3.5-inch hard drives. I've seen tons of toolless designs in my day, but this may be up there with one of my favorites. The entire sled slides out, giving you plenty of room to install your drive. Then you just slide it back in, locking your drive into place. Then you just kind of slide it in. Just like any good time, there's also another way to get in here. On the bottom, there is a panel that gives you access to your RAM and NVMe drives. As we can see, we have 2 NVMe slots and 2 RAM slots. It comes populated with a single stick, but depending on your unit, this can be upgraded to up to 64 gigabytes. Then on the bottom as well, you'll see the rubber feet, which help it stay in place if you're like on a boat or something, but more likely just to prevent any scratches to whatever surface you put this on. So in terms of design, it's great. Very impressive, especially for a first-gen product from Ugreen. Now, everything I mentioned in terms of design is going to be consistent across their lineup for the most part. What will be different though is the hardware specs and I/O. Let's take a look at their full lineup here and do a brief walkthrough. Here in the middle is the unit I have, the DXP 4800 Plus. Below that we have 2 options, a 2-bay and another 4-bay. These have lower powered processors in the N100, a lower amount of maximum memory supported, eMMC storage for your OS instead of a SATA SSD, and are limited to 2.5 gig network speeds. Obviously though, they are more affordable and still plenty powerful enough for your file storage needs. Moving up the food chain, we get to see the 6-bay, 8-bay, and flash storage models. Let's focus on the non-flash versions real quick. When we go with one of these units, we do get some cool upgrades and a more powerful processor with the Intel 1235U. We get dual 10 gigabit networking, dual Thunderbolt 4 ports, and even a PCI 4X expansion slot. Now again, there is going to be a price difference here, so make sure you go with the unit that fits your needs. The flash version is a bit different as it's designed to only use flash storage for high-speed transfers. So most likely content creators and people who just want to go fast. There are 4 NVMe slots here, Thunderbolt 4 ports for additional storage, 10 gigabit network, and even Wi-Fi too. But that's the whole lineup. Which one you choose will be determined by your use case and budget. But if I had to pick my favorite, I'd say it's the 6-bay DXP 6800 Pro. The combination of the upgraded processor, Thunderbolt ports, and PCIe expansion slot are really nice, especially at the early bird price of just $600. However, my DXP 4800 Plus, it's no slouch. After firing it up and running through the setup process, I was ready to go. I had 4 4TB drives installed and decided to go with a RAID 5 setup, which is pretty standard for 4 drives. I then chose ButterFS as my file system since I wanted to be able to use that snapshotting feature. I was then greeted with the home screen and installed my apps. First thing I wanted to do was set up a basic share because a NAS isn't a NAS unless it's a NAS. The only requirement here was to go into the control panel, file services, and make sure that SMB was enabled. From the same location, you can also enable other file sharing methods such as FTP and NFS. I typically just stick to SMB since it works on all machines, whether they're Windows, Mac, or Linux. Then all I have to do is connect using the IP or the hostname of my NAS. To test out the speeds, I took a fairly large file and sent it over. Note that I am connected with a 10 gigabit connection here, and this is only on hard drives. I did mention before that you could install an NVMe drive here as well. So I went ahead and did that. After configuring that as its own storage, I ran another test over the 10 gigabit connection. Now we have the perfect marriage of size with our hard drives and speed with our NVMe. Outside of how quickly you can transfer files over, another big aspect of using a NAS is how easy it is to get data to and from your machine. Sure, I could just transfer files over manually, but this isn't the 1900s anymore. Using the Ugreen NAS all-in-one app for your desktop, not only will it be able to access your NAS through there, but also you'll be able to set up some automatic sync jobs between that device and the NAS itself. Using the aptly named Sync and Backup app, you'll be able to do just that. For example, I set up a sync job on my local Lightroom library so that anytime changes to that are made, they're automatically pushed to the NAS in real time. You have the option of doing two-way sync as well, so that if there are files that are manually updated on the NAS or by another user, they get pushed down directly to your device. Also in this app, we have the ability to set backups. I mean, this is similar to syncing, except that it's meant for incremental transfers and storage of files. I don't know why I'm explaining the concept of backups to you guys. You know what a freaking backup is. We have a few options to choose from with shipping our data from our own NAS to a remote location, pulling data in from a remote location, backing up our local computer, and then restoring data to our NAS. Most likely you'll want to go with the computer backup. Here you can set specific drives or folders you want backed up, the type of backup you want to run, where the data will be stored, when you'd like it to run, and boom, you have data backups. Now I know the beauty of a NAS is being able to quickly access storage on your network, but what if you're away from your network, like out in the real world? Well, if we go into the device connection settings, then into remote access, we can actually enable the Ugreen link service, which will allow us to do just that. You can set a link ID, which will then generate a unique link for you to connect back into your NAS from anywhere in the world. You can log in, browse your files, upload, download, and manage all of your apps as if you were back home. Now the speed will depend on not only your network speeds at home, but also the network speeds where you're currently at, so keep that in mind. At launch, there's already a suite of apps available, but the last one I want to touch on is the Photos app, because let's be honest, like 99% of people getting a NAS is to make sure they don't lose all of their cat pictures. The Photos app can be used to easily organize your pictures into various albums, and it'll even analyze the metadata to automatically sort your photos by location. On top of that, we have some pretty nifty features like person detection, allowing the app to categorize photos based on who's in them, which is convenient when you're searching through photos. We also have some tools like allowing friends to upload, sharing photos, the ability to show you duplicates, and even show you which photos are blurry. Some of these features I haven't even seen in other photo management apps, so I'm pretty excited to see how they build upon this. There are many more apps in here like the Security Manager, DLNA, Content Search, and much more, but I can't have this video being longer than the Titanic. So that's everything I wanted to show you today with the Ugreen DXP 4800 Plus. If you want to snag one of these or a different model, make sure you check out the links down in the description below. You'll want to act quick while you can to get up to 40% off, by the way. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreons. You guys are my super sleek looking device that I like to put a lot of hard drives inside. Just so much space. And if you're still watching, you're a 1 gigabit connection. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.